The Eagles' Super Bowl defense is over before it began. Lou Nichols released. The season is over. We'll talk about it next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Doodad Dental. It is training camp eve. The players have reported today. We will have the first practice of summer tomorrow, and here to cover it all is Zach Berman. And I'm Bo Wulf. Happy to be back. Zach, how you doing?
Doing great. Welcome back. Excited for the show. Good to be on with you.
We've got a lot to talk about today. Yes. The Eagles announced some front office changes, which we will talk about in a little bit. They also signed 2 players today. One very interesting one on the edge. And yes, they did release Lou Nichols. And so I do believe the Eagles will not be winning the Super Bowl this year unless they rectify this mistake, which they do have plenty of time to do. We'll talk about that later, but I want to get right into it, Zach. We are drafting today the 20 Eagles, 10 each, that we are most excited to watch over the next 2-3 weeks over the course of training camp. I'm going to give you the first pick. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, so look, the next 19 are more specific to camp battles and things like that. I have to go with the quarterback number 1.
This is very on brand.
So I go Jalen Hurts number 1. I think this is, in addition to all the talk on the periphery, this is a fascinating year for Jalen Hurts coming off the Super Bowl MVP. We've discussed like taking that next step this year in the passing game. I spoke about it with Anthony today on the show as far as the Eagles passing the ball more. I'm curious to see the downfield throws. I'm curious to see him being in sync with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm curious to see establishing that number 3 wide receiver and just like what's the next step in Jalen's game. I think for some of these marquee players, let's just fast forward to September 4th. I don't think that's the case with Jalen Hurts. I'm really curious to watch Jalen Hurts this summer.
So to play devil's advocate, I totally disagree. I actually think that he is the most just fast forward to September 4th of all of these guys.
Okay.
There is, aside from making sure he stays healthy, there is nothing that Jalen Hurts can do over the next month that I think is going to matter.
That's going to matter?
Yes.
So what's the point of him practicing then?
Getting the reps.
Yeah, but I want to see those reps, right? I want to see him, chipping the stone every day. And that's I'm not saying it is a total indicator of the season that he's going to have, but I want to see how the starting quarterback looks this summer, the way he's getting rid of the ball, to whom, how quickly, how the ball looks coming out of his hands, his general
how the ball looks coming out of his hand. I mean, we're talking about that. I mean, the guy just won the Super Bowl. He's been a starter for a long time. This is not a competition. How the ball comes out of his hand, it's not going to matter.
His general comportment, right? What he's saying, what he's not saying. There's so
I think
the whole Jalen Hurts experience.
I think the aura stuff is interesting to me. He showed up to camp today. He's dressed in his his finest Michael Jordan cosplay, and which you have written about, and I think is one of the best insights into the way that he carries himself. But on the field, I mean, I will find it very difficult to think of anything in either direction that is gonna matter to me when I think about Jalen Hurts and this offense.
Okay, yeah, I mean it's also because the way he functions is in essence the way everyone functions, right? I mean he's the straw that stirs the drink in practice. He's deciding where the ball goes. He's deciding how quickly the ball's getting out. If there's a sack, it might be because he's holding on to the ball too long. If Kelee Ringo's beat downfield, it might be because Jalen put a perfect pass downfield. So, like the quarterback is often an indicator for a teaser. I have Jahan Dotson on this list. Like how Jahan Dotson looks, it can be a function of how Jalen Hurts plays. So I think too, like you're evaluating the whole team. The quarterback touches the ball on every play. So the quarterback is like, I'm curious if Jalen doesn't practice, then, well, it'd be interesting to watch Tanner McKee, of course, but it's not as interesting. Like I like watching the starting quarterback at practice.
Will not surprise you to know that Jalen Hurts was not in my top 20.
I that would not surprise me. No.
I mean, yeah. I've seen Jalen Hurts do it all already. What he does in training camp is very little to me.
Okay.
But that's okay.
By the way, what he was wearing today, it's the Trunners OS, the Jordan Branch Trunners OS. Would you know?
Are you getting paid for this advertisement?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give details to the audience. It's actually Michael Jordan's classic offseason style. Yes.
Are you sure you're not getting paid?
I am positive I'm not getting paid for this advertisement. Right. I'm getting paid for the show, but not this. Not discussing the shoes.
Living off that bulletproof coffee money.
If only. Yes.
All right. Now, as I say that, you know that my predilections here are more towards the bubble guys, or the guys we haven't seen, guys who I haven't seen before. But number one for me is a superstar, and this is just what is gonna make it move for me, like what I enjoy watching, and that is Jalen Carter. Because when he gets into the mode of just ruining a drill, just ruining a day's practice by dominating people, it is so fun to watch. He did it a bunch last summer, and if you are thinking about a defensive tackle, a position where often like year 3 is the leap year, and if Jalen Carter is going to take a leap from what he did last year, he becomes the best defensive player in football, potentially, maybe the best defensive lineman at least. And just watching him dominate guys, the way that he can just throw people around, it is so fun to watch. And so, like, what is exciting to me? I'm going Jalen Carter number 1.
Yeah, that's a good one too. And Fran and I, when we did the defensive line show last week, a point that was made was that Jalen Carter's the type of player who a national reporter comes through practice, they see Jalen Carter, and there's like this big think piece: could Jalen Carter be the defensive player of the year? And the answer is yes. Like Jalen Carter could be that good for the Eagles. So he's perhaps the best player. I mean, I think Lane Johnson, AJ Brown are the 2 best players on the team. Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Carter's top 5, and by the end of the season, could be higher on that list.
Okay, give me your number 2 draft pick here.
My number 2 is Tyler Steen. And it's Tyler Steen because I think right guard's fascinating, number 1. This is the 3rd consecutive year that Tyler Steen has competed to be the starting right guard. 2 years ago, he lost to Cam Jurgens, who had never played guard before. Last year, he lost to Mekhi Becton, who had never played guard before. This year, he's going against Matt Pryor, potentially Kenyon Green, although as you pointed out, Kenyon Green only played on the left side during training camp. During mini camp and OTAs. If this seems more than ever to be Tyler Steen's job to lose.
I think that's right.
That said, if we're talking the second week of camp and Jeff Stoutland's rotating guys, to me, that's a bad sign, right? And we discussed with Stoutland that he likes to have this synchronized. And if he had his druthers, it's not like 3 different players in there 3 different days. He's going to want some consistency there. And so, but if Tyler Steen gets banged up, or Tyler Steen underperforms, if there's ever a point during the summer when Jeff Stoutland even has that inkling, let's see somebody else, to me, that's a telltale sign. So I think right guard is watch what they say, not what they do.
The opposite, you mean?
I'm sorry, watch what they do and not what they say.
Yes, and correct. I think we will know very early on, within the first week, the way that Jeff Stoutland wants it to go.
Yes.
So if Tyler Steen is the first team right guard for the first 3 practices, they want him to win that job. And then we will be closely monitoring who is getting the second team reps. Does Kenyon Green move over to the right side? Are they giving the other guys shots with the ones? Then it will tell you, okay, he needs to go out and earn it. But my expectation is that it's going to be Tyler Steen's job to lose.
Agreed.
He was up high for me too. I had him 1 spot behind the player I will take here, and that is another. I'm sure he's very high for you as well, and that's Kelee Ringo. Mm-hmm. We know that he is entering year 3. We know that he's younger than Quinyon Mitchell, despite having been drafted a year before him, Zach. And I think we know that the Eagles would like him to win that job opposite Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Adoree Jackson is going to be the primary competition, but I don't think that what Adoree Jackson does this summer is going to decide that. I think the Eagles know what they think they have in him based on the career that he's had so far. They want Kelee Ringo to show that he has a little bit more upside. And as I said to Anthony this morning, whoever it is, better be ready because they're going to get peppered. They are going to be the focal point of opposing offensive game plans because they're not going to want to throw it at Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. They're going to want to throw it at whoever the other guy is. Now, I also want to see, do we continue to see Quinyon Mitchell playing on the other side than he played last year? Is that still what's going on? But for Kelee Ringo, I thought he took a really nice leap from year 1 to year 2. If he takes another similar leap, then I think he will be ready.
Do you think he needs to win the job, or do you think, like, if he just has an even par camp, so to speak, he's the starter?
I think par probably gets it done for him.
Okay. Yeah.
What about you?
I would agree. I think unless it's egregious, Kelee Ringo's the starter. And I think this is the way it was designed.
I think that's probably right. And I think this is one where I think Vic Fangio and Howie are probably more aligned than they might be at some other positions, which maybe we will get to. I think Vic might be willing to give Kelee Ringo some time on task to develop and get better while being the starter, whereas that might not be the case at some other positions.
Agreed.
Okay, over to you, number 3.
So staying with position battles, Drew Mukuba. Drew Mukuba, who as we mentioned on yesterday's show, signed a contract. So in camp, nothing to worry about there. And I think that Drew Mukuba has not just a legitimate chance to win this job. I think he'd be the favorite to win this job. And I'm curious to see how he looks. I really didn't get a chance to fully ascertain him during the spring. And so I want to get a better sense of him. But look, he's a second-round pick. There's not that much of a delta between where he was picked and where Sidney Brown was picked. But the fact that Sidney's been here for 2 years, had chances to play last year, and the fact that Vic Fangio essentially picked Drew Mukuba, right? Vic wasn't here when they took Sidney Brown. He was here when they took Drew Mukuba. We discussed that the Eagles might have overdrafted him relative to maybe projections going in. And I know on the My Guys, I thought he'd be available day 3. But the fact that the Eagles took him in round 2 shows, like, by definition, they were higher on him than the rest of the league was. And so this is clearly someone that they targeted. They targeted that spot for a reason. They traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They did not add a safety to start. So I think Drew Mukuba, they're going to miss C.J. on the field. I mean, C.J. is a good player from my perspective, and Drew Mukuba needs to give them some of what C.J. gave them.
I think you could make a case that this is the most important one for them to get right, as opposed to Ringo and Steen. Like, this is the most important position battle. I had him a little bit lower with you after those other 2 guys, only because from a training camp perspective, it's a little bit more difficult to really analyze a safety when they're not going live. Some of the knocks against Mukuba are potentially his tackling. We're not going to get to see that in training camp, but there is no doubt that the Eagles getting this pick right is going to go a long way in the success of the defense this year. And I am very interested to see how that all plays out this summer for sure.
Well said.
All right, I'll give you my number 3. And I got on you for Jalen Hurts. I'm going with the other quarterback. I'm going Tanner McKee here.
Of course you are.
And of course I am. I'm always excited to see Tanner McKee. Any day I see Tanner McKee is a win for me. But I think this is a very serious job that he has now, going from the number 3 to the number 2. We know how important the number 2 quarterback is in Philadelphia. And from a training camp perspective, we're going to get to see Tanner McKee go up against the ones a lot. And so that is going to be, if he looks good playing with the second team offense against what was the best defense in football last year, then maybe Tanner McKee is very much for real. And so, I am, of course, excited to see Tanner McKee this summer.
I always look forward to watching Tanner McKee. He's not on my list because I agree with what you said about the backup quarterback being an important job. History's proven that. Last year, Kenny Pickett started an important game for the Eagles. We've seen Gardner Minshew start games in the past. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, of course.
Could I read about that anywhere?
Yes, you can. You can read about Kenny Pickett in a book called Leap Year coming out.
Interesting.
I was going to
chicken vodka wraps.
What's that?
The chicken vodka
wraps did not make it.
Okay.
You said year 3 is the leap year. I think if I had said that, you would have said year 4 is typically the leap year, right? But nonetheless, 2024 was a leap year, and you can read all about that year with the Eagles and leap year coming out on September 23rd.
Okay.
But then you
could also read,
you can read about Nick Foles in 2 books in the franchise.
Okay.
And in Underdogs. So I appreciate that plug.
Audubon Hardware anywhere we can read?
Audubon Hardware is not in any of those books, but you can read about that in an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer that appeared during the Super Bowl in 2014 or 2013 rather, January 2013.
Would it be possible
to
get a hard copy of that or no?
A hard copy of
out of print, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Inquirer has.
Maybe Audubon Hardware has a copy.
I'm sure. I hope so. Glenn Hare, nice guy there. I went to the Audubon Diner. That was actually the cover image was the Audubon Diner. Good meal there. Anyways, I don't have Tanner McKee on this list because again, I don't feel like it has, at least at this point, a material effect on the season if everything works out. Now, it could very well be the case.
Famous last words.
But to the point, to Nick Foles had a bad summer in 2017. Like he was injured. He didn't perform well. There were serious concerns about Nick Foles. And one of the things he said too was like being the backup quarterback gave him time that year to get situated, to kind of get adjusted for when he needed to come in. So this is the most meaningful work Tanner McKee will have, of course, but Tanner McKee is going to get more practice work than he would typically get.
Okay. Let's do one more round here before we hit our ad break. Give me your 4th draft pick here.
Yeah, my 4th draft pick here is Jihaad Campbell.
Okay.
And there's 2 things with Jihaad Campbell. A, when do we see him?
Yes.
And B, how does he look when we do see him? So Vic Fangio said August. Okay. Now August is pretty broad. If this is early August, that's a good sign for the Eagles.
They like it pretty broad.
I'm staying away from that one. If this is early August, this is a good sign for the Eagles. If this is mid-August, which Cooper DeJean was last year, so Cooper DeJean's first practice last year was the joint practice in New England. That's the second preseason game. So that will be the joint practice against the Browns this year, which is around August 13th, 14th, thereabouts.
I was going to say, you want to go closest to the pin on a date here? Just
okay.
Yes?
Sure. Let's go. I'm going to go with August 6th. Are they practicing August 6th?
I'm going August 10th.
No, they're not practicing August 6th.
No, but you know what is August 6th?
The Ospreys.
That's right. The Ospreys in person at the Hard Rock. We're taking it back. And listen, tickets are, almost gone. So if you want to come, and I got to tell you, I don't want to give too much away. It's going to be a momentous occasion. Okay? There's going to be a big deal at the Ospreys for reasons we can't quite get into, but that will become clear. You don't want to miss your chance to come to the Ospreys. First time we're doing it in person, so please check that out on the events page at allphly.com.
So okay. I'm going Monday, August 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, Monday, August 4th, because it wouldn't be August 5th. That's the day before. That's our last practice.
Yeah, that's why I'm going the 10th. Okay. I'm going after the first preseason
Okay,
game.
that's probably a good one.
That's when it is. We'll get one game, and then it's like, okay, Jihaad Campbell's doing some individual stuff.
So you know what's cool about the 10th? That's the public practice. So the unveiling at the stadium.
That'd be fun.
That's a good one there. So there's 2 things with Jihaad Campbell that I'm curious to see. The first being, like we said, when he's going to practice, but also how does he look when he's out there? Because if the Eagles had their choice here, Jihaad Campbell's the day 1 starter at linebacker. Last year, Cooper DeJean, by virtue of when he returned, he wasn't ready from Vic Fangio's estimation to start when the season opened. So that's why I'm especially curious to see when Jihaad Campbell's out there, how quickly he picks this up. Really, all he has to do is beat out Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Smile Mondon Jr. So Jihaad Campbell is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yep, I'm with you. I just had him a little bit lower only because I don't know when we're going to see him.
Sure.
But yes, once he finally appears, it'll be a big deal. We want to see, how he's being used, who he's practicing with, and obviously how he looks. Yep. I will go for my one here with not someone who is in a competition, but someone who had a monster performance in the Super Bowl. And if you are wish casting on how this defense could maybe be as good as it was last year, one of the keys to that would be Jalyx Hunt. And Jalyx Hunt is a fun player to watch. The way that he just bowled over Joe Thuney in the Super Bowl was a lot of fun to watch. And now listen, he's going to be going up mostly against Jordan Mailata, so it'll be tough sledding on that front. But I think if Jalyx Hunt has a really good summer, that is one where that can give you a little pep in your step about what this pass rush that looks a little bit meager on paper right now might be better than expected.
Well said. I mean, and Jalyx Hunt is high on my list as well. I truly think that edge rusher is it's the position that I'm watching most closely. It's the position that I think is the biggest question mark, not the biggest weakness, but the biggest question mark, given the importance of it and given the lack of relative depth. And we'll get into that today. But Jalyx Hunt, if Jalyx Hunt takes that leap this year, that changes the complexion of that defensive front.
Well, Zach, you mentioned the edge, and then we'll get into it. We will get into it on the other side. The Eagles added an experienced edge rusher today. We'll talk about that and let you know about the Eagles front office changes coming up in just a minute. If you are looking for a Jeep or Ram truck, there's not a lot of places to go. In fact, there is only one dealership in South Jersey who has been the market leader since 1967. Our friends at CherryHillJeep.com have you covered on the best selection, but most importantly, the best prices. Right now, take advantage of the True Zero offer. $0 down, $0 first month payment, and $0 security deposit now through July 31st. Time is running out. Slide into a 2025 Jeep Wrangler this month for just $289 a month. Every Wrangler delivers strong drivetrains, innovative engineering, and quality components that underpin this icon's legendary heritage. Or you can pull away in the most luxurious and functional SUV on the market, the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, also included in the True Zero offer. So stop in today, tell them PHLY sent you, and receive an additional $1,000 for your trade-in. I know people buy Jeeps and Ram trucks elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today, just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at CherryHillJeep.com. Pico.
Is
all
it
right, friend, here's an impression of me from yesterday.
Okay.
That's me walking into my house, sweating like a pig because it is feeling like a sauna in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. This time of year, this Philly heat, it's no joke.
So, what do I do? Do I go jump in a lake? It's not going to happen. So, I just got a bunch of ice, held it, rubbed it on my face, stuffed it down my shirt, stuffed it down my pants. Only way I could think to cool down.
I mean, stop being the stereotypical dad, though. Turn on the AC. It's time to fire that thing up.
I don't want to be, I want to waste money, be energy efficient.
Well, look, instead of icing yourself out or jumping into a lake, you could just check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut down on your bills.
So, no more ice down my pants?
No, you could skip the ice, save the ice, and you throw in my drinks when I come over.
The same ice?
No, we'll change the ice up.
Okay, fine. That's what's up.
All right, well, just head over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it.
All right, we're back on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, and now it's time for the big deal presented by our friends at Cherry Hill Jeep. And Zach, the Eagles announced some front office changes yesterday. Now, usually we get these a little bit closer to the draft. Curious why you think it maybe dragged on so long, but also tell us what the big takeaways are here.
Yeah, typically this comes out mid-June, right? After the draft, once the contracts expire. I don't know why the Eagles waited this long. Maybe they were just enjoying their summers off, and then they put out the press release before camp. The big name here is one that we discussed when this first kind of leaked out. That's Joe Douglas, who is the senior personnel director / advisor to the GM. So similar to Dave Caldwell, similar to Russell, who are still on the Eagles organizational chart.
Okay.
So from what we understand, there hasn't been moves there. We'll monitor that.
Can we take a step? Well, finish talking about Joe Douglas, and then I will ask you another question.
Yeah, Joe Douglas. So former high-level Eagles executive, assistant GM with the Eagles at one point, and then the GM for the New York Jets. And he got dismissed last season and quickly comes to Philadelphia. I know that when the Eagles hired him, just to kind of give context here, the Eagles hired him in 2016. That was the same year that they traded for Carson Wentz. And Jeffrey Lurie said at the league meetings in 2017 that bringing in Joe Douglas was the biggest move the organization made that year, which I think says a lot about how they thought that.
A little hyperbolic, but
yeah. But look, he had a lot of responsibility when he was here. He changed the grading system. He was involved in putting together that Super Bowl roster in 2017. Goes to the Jets. Certainly, did not work out the way he wanted. The head coach and the quarterback decisions did not work out. But you saw, look, it wasn't all bad. I mean, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson both got big deals last week. He drafted both those players. There were some other good moves mixed in there.
Bryce Huff.
And so we'll see how this goes in Philly. But Howie has liked to bring in experienced voices.
Yes.
And that's what Joe gives him.
Is your understanding from talking to people behind the scenes that this is more of a soft landing spot for Joe Douglas to keep him in the mix so he can find something else elsewhere, or that he is an actual sort of power player in the organization right now?
What's your sense of that?
I asked you first.
I don't have a strong, I haven't thought about it in that framing. I typically think this type of job is
I would lean a little bit more towards
the soft landing job. Keeps you in the mix, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're not out of you're still scouting, you're still in meetings. But this is not typically a forever job. I could be wrong though.
Yeah. Okay. To take a step back before we get into some of these other promotions, who is gone? Who left?
Who left? Brandon Hunt left.
Right.
Brandon Hunt went to Vegas. Who else left?
It's funny, and not like he went to the Raiders. Brandon Hunt went to Vegas, and we never saw him again.
Going to Vegas isn't horrible, man.
Yeah. He hit it big. Good for him.
Yeah. Tax-free living there. Yeah. No state income tax. That's why the Golden Knights keep getting all these good players. People want to go play there. Who else left in the front office?
You would tell me.
Yeah, I will look through. I mean, I can give you the other changes here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ryan Myers, so Tiny, as he's well known, as someone who would probably be appropriately described as tiny. I can say Ryan Myers is not tiny, but that's kind of the joke behind it. Ryan Myers,
one of the great bits of all time. Just calling a big guy tiny, always good for. Just good fun for everybody.
Yeah, real funny thing to laugh at, right? Promoted to college scouting director. Matt Holland promoted to assistant director of college scouting. Jared Kilburn promoted to assistant director of pro scouting. Congratulations to Jared. I believe he's a newlywed as well. Terrence Braxton moved to pro scout. Rod Streeter moved to West Coast area scout. So speaking about the Raiders, former Raiders wide receiver, former Temple wide receiver. He gets to go out to the West Coast, so he probably gets to roll through Vegas, gets to see Dan Mullen's UNLV team out in Vegas. Duke Tobin goes to Midlands area scout. So good for Duke. In football off.
Hold on. How concerned should the Kilburn family be that that Jared Kilburn is a newlywed?
Let's keep rolling here. I probably should have. How concerned should? No, it's I don't know. It's just congratulations to Jared Kilburn. That's all.
What are you trolling? Wedding registry sites?
No,
what's going on here?
No, not trolling anything. Not trolling. Yeah, just keep your ear to the grindstone, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is the second thing that came up was Jared Kilburn wedding.
Really?
So there you go.
Okay. James Dillman, now the senior director of football research and strategy. John Liu, director of football analytics, and Zachary Stever, Always good to have a Zachary in there. Assistant
Sure.
Director of Football Research and Strategy. The new hires.
Stever the Beaver, they call him.
The new hires. Preston Tiffany comes from the SEC to become an NFS scout. Smit Bijel is the, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
No chance, but that's okay.
How do you pronounce it? Smite? Smite Bajaj. I'm sorry, I read that as an L. It's a J. Is the quantitative analysis? Is the quantitative analyst? Look forward to meeting him. Grant Reiter is the football transactions coordinator. Molly is at Rottinghouse is the football operations coordinator, and Leif Thorson is the software developer.
I mean, you want to talk about a Viking name, Leif Thorson. I mean, the Eagles are going to be pillaging everybody on the software development front.
See what you did there?
Leif Thorson.
Yeah. So,
wow. If that guy doesn't have a big blonde mane, I don't know. He is misnamed.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Leif Thorson.
You have to have a big blonde mane to be Leif Thorson?
Yes.
I don't think
and a big barrel chest. And carry a hammer.
What's in a name by which we call a rose? By any other name.
That'll do it for the big deal presented by our good friends at Cherry Hill Jeep. Okay. Moving from the front office to the field, Zach. Eagles making 2 moves today, including adding an experienced edge rusher to the group that includes Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche behind Jalyx Hunt and Nolan Smith.
The Eagles added Obonayo Okoronkwo.
I hope you're not beating yourself up too much over these last 5 minutes of pronunciations after the show. I hope you sleep tonight.
I'm looking. I've been during the ad break. I was researching the pronunciation. But what I can tell you about Double O is that he's 30 years old.
This is like the Moro Ojomo thing, where his full name has more vowels. But if you take him at his word and just go by Ogbo Okoronkwo, he's got 6 O's. All the vowels are O's. He overtakes Moro Ojomo in terms of 100% O vowels on the team.
Wait, what'd you pronounce the first name as?
We don't need to get stuck in the muck here.
Okay. So
this is also a funny one where the spelling has changed over the years, where he used to go by OBO and now it's OGBO.
OGBO. Gotcha. Okay. So he is 30. He's played 6 NFL seasons, 17 sacks in 80 games, 13 starts with the Rams, the Texans, and the Browns. So it gives the Eagles some experience at edge rusher, like you said. They also added Jacob Sykes, the defensive tackle, has a background with Clint Hurt in Seattle. So the Eagles adding to the defensive line.
Now that one smells to me, because they had reportedly worked out a couple other defensive tackles yesterday. That one smells to me like somebody got injured over the summer at defensive tackle.
Good one. Maybe so. We'll see.
It's not a good one. I mean,
no. I'm
but
saying that's a good.
Felt like they're specifically looking for that.
Yeah,
it feels like somebody got dinged.
Unless they feel like they need a backup nose, we'll see. And then KJ Henry waived and Lou Nichols waived.
What?
Yes. So.
The season's over.
As Fran pointed out, we'll always have the breaking emergency show from the Combine,
which you were very angry about. Julia, confirm the angriest Zach's ever been?
Not the angriest I've ever been. No, not the angriest I've ever been.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia. Julia, everybody.
Hey.
Yes.
And model.
The outstanding head of production here at PHLY. But Lou Nichols.
Listen, the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Lou Nichols on the practice squad last year. They better bring him back.
We'll see. Fran says the angriest he's ever been at the Combine. Not the angriest I've ever been at the Combine either. But
what's the angriest you've ever been at the Combine?
The angriest I've ever been at the Combine was I was at an establishment, like a bar, not I mean, not a
Not a gentleman.
Yeah. No, as I said it, I said
you weren't,
I should
Lloyd Howell.
I should clarify. I was at a bar and
It was a work lunch with Lloyd.
No, and I would like to, look. The reality is that as much as like I want to have internal confidence, the reality is you go to these places often to see people, right? I'm not just staying up late. Indulging just for my own edification, right? It's to see people. And I left to go back to my room. I was tired, long work day ahead of me. And I think like 10 minutes after I left, someone who I really wanted to get FaceTime with came. And that was probably the angriest I was at the combine.
Yeah, come on. You miss it. Was this at Prime?
No, it was not a Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the thing. Was it a place where you were actually going to get some FaceTime? Because if we're talking about Prime, it's like, okay, you're gonna over the throng and the noise, you're gonna get like 2 minutes of nonsense that's not gonna matter.
Especially when you're tiny, right? But
Ryan Myers, you were trying to talk to?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But it's always nice to see Ryan Myers. But no, so that was probably the angriest. But I was eager to talk about what was going on at the combine that day and the Lou Nichols news over it. But that's what makes this.
We also did talk about what was happening at the combine that day.
Eventually, yes.
Well, you weren't on the Lou Nichols thing.
I was not. No, I remember that. Yes.
What are you so mad at?
Moving on.
All right, so Okoronkwo is an interesting player here, and is someone who over the past few off seasons has popped as like a guy I thought the Eagles might bring in for this type of role because he has had some success as a designated pass rusher and has had a couple seasons where he has hit the quarterback at a pretty high rate when he is edge rushing. The sack numbers are not going to blow you away. Season high of 5 with the Texans in 2022, and his efficiency has dropped pretty significantly with the Browns the last 2 seasons. But we have talked about the bet diversification at edge. You've got Ojulari and Uche, who have both had significant injury histories. Okoronkwo has been much more healthy than those 2 guys over the past 3 seasons. So this is another capable NFL caliber edge rusher to add to your stash. Makes a lot of sense. You're absolutely right about that. And he's someone, the Eagles have scouted that Oklahoma program hard. And he's someone who, it was kind of during a real productive time at Oklahoma. So I'm sure they have an extensive profile on O. And a guy who has plenty of experience playing in space, not just being a Jim Schwartz type defensive end. This is a guy who you would think would fit with Vic. You're right. Okay. Well said. All right, let's take our last break, and then we will come back and finish out the draft. We've each got 6 more players to add to the list of guys we are most excited to watch as training camp opens and begins practice tomorrow. Okay, who are we talking about? You know who we're talking about. Head down, everybody. We're looking at floors because the experts at Empire Today do flooring better than anybody in the whole wide world. Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. I always talk about the head down thing. You know what else I've noticed about the Empire Today people? They don't have beds. They just sleep on the floor because they love being on the floor. That way they can get a close-up angle and feel for the floor. Listen, might hurt their back. They're making that sacrifice for you. That's how much they care about flooring. With Empire Today, they live and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It is a whole different ballgame, and they're bringing the showroom right to your home. No guesswork about what this stuff is going to look like in your house. No. They come to you. They look at the everything that's going on in your house, the decor, the space, what's going to work, what's the usage. They're coming to you because they're experts. With Empire Today, you get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when using Promo code PHLY. You heard that right. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details.
My son's a big hat guy. He went to a football camp last weekend, wore his fresh PHLY hat. Love that hat. But he needs to get a Penn State hat into his collection. And the place to go for that Penn State hat and many other hats is Branded Bills. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and with style. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. Why did I mention Penn State? Well, they have a partnership with Penn State as part of their campus collection. And it's not just Penn State. You can go with Arizona or Arizona State. You can go with Boise State. You can go with BYU or Colorado State. I teach at Colorado State. Maybe I'll get my next Colorado State hat there. I used to cover UVA. They have Virginia hats as well. It's all part of their campus collection. Head to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHLY for 15% off your first order.
Who's your favorite non-Belichick Bill?
My favorite non-Belichick Bill. I don't know if Belichick's my favorite.
Yeah, no, but I didn't want that to be the answer. So.
Bill Matz, who is my colleague here. Bill Moreno, who I went to high school with Julia. Yeah, so I like going with the Bills in my life.
By the way, did you get to? I was wondering this when you went to Maine. Did you get to spend some time with the smartest guy you know?
Pete, unfortunately, Pete was down the shore when I was up in Maine. So yeah, I got to see him this summer. I've spoken to him a lot this summer, fortunately.
What about?
Just he's someone whose advice and counsel I really cherish.
Okay.
In my life. So it's
just a summer in which you needed that.
It's important to have friends who can give it to you straight on things. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. But no, I did not get to see him when I was up in Maine, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
and very quickly, is it Pete Vernon or is it Vernon Pete?
It is definitely Pete Vernon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zach, you have the 5th pick, or I guess the 9th pick.
Yeah.
Your 5th pick. Who are you most excited to see that we have not talked about yet?
So picking up on the conversation from 20 minutes ago, Nolan Smith.
Okay.
Nolan Smith, and first off, we're assuming that he's going to be healthy. He was able to strike on that last day of minicamp. And he had the great Exciting Mics episode. You heard him kind of discuss the injury on that. Make sure you're checking out the Exciting Mics on YouTube, on the podcast feeds. Julia Brenna doing an outstanding job with that show. So Nolan Smith is the top edge rusher on this team. He needs to take that next step this year. And so I'm really curious to see how he looks. He's going to face Lane Johnson quite a bit this summer. I want to see that. I want to see that matchup. And he's also the leader of that defensive, or at least the edge rushers. You know, Brandon Graham said as much to him. And so I'm real curious for the whole Nolan Smith experience this summer.
I think that's a solid one. I didn't have him on my list only because to me the Nolan Smith questions are more about can he stay healthy?
Sure.
And that's less of an exciting thing this summer, but no doubt that he is an important player for the team this year. I will go with one that we have sort of talked around. That is Sidney Brown, the other main competitor in that safety competition. I do, like I said with Mukuba, it is tough to really fully evaluate safeties in this setting. The things that you would ding Sidney Brown for, maybe being too quick to trigger, not being in the right place all the time, that will be tough to see. But I think there is a world. Right now, we sort of believe that, Sidney Brown is not Vic Fangio's favorite player because once he was healthy last year, he was leapfrogged by Tristan McCollum. When Vic got to see him in the practice field, he wasn't super impressed. That is true, but he didn't have all summer. And, Vic Fangio is not someone who is just going to be dead set in his ways.
Sure.
I think Sidney Brown has a chance to go win this job if he looks good. And so I'm excited to see what he looks like with his first chance to be healthy and try to go win a job.
You're right about that. Sidney Brown's on my list. Sidney Brown's a prideful guy too, and he has expectations for himself. That injury last year, you got to remember, he tore the ACL in Week 18 against the Giants. So that was early January. It takes time to get right, and he wasn't quite right until the middle later of the year. So we kind of look at it like Vic didn't trust him. The reality is this: Vic Fangio is forming his evaluations mostly during training camp, and Sidney Brown wasn't there during training camp. So it's hard to earn that trust when you just come in and you're kind of scout team like Tristan McComb.
Well, Cooper DeJean says hi.
True, but even in Cooper DeJean's case, like he didn't, he wasn't the week one starter anyways. And I think that there were people in that building who wanted Cooper DeJean in the lineup sooner than he was. So so that's something to just consider.
All right, who you got next?
Cooper DeJean. Speaking of,
okay,
I want to see where he's used, how he's used. We've discussed a few times this offseason about Cooper DeJean on the outside. We heard Vic Fangio discuss Cooper DeJean at safety potentially in certain situations. Cooper DeJean's not going to come off the field this year. Cooper DeJean has had quite the offseason. Terrific podcast, and he's been all over the place. Now, where is he going to be on the field? Is he going to be all over the place on the field, or is he just going to be in this? I shouldn't say just going to be in the slot. Is he primarily going to be in the slot? I don't know how much they're going to show with that during camp, but I'm curious the usage of Cooper DeJean.
What is the realistic scenario in which he is not in the slot when they're in nickel?
When they're in nickel. The realistic scenario when he's not in the slot when they're in nickel would be if they are not comfortable with either of those safeties. They don't add someone and they want him at. I mean, I'm thinking. I was
thinking at safety.
No. I mean, I was thinking more outside in base, right?
Sure, but that's take that. That's going to happen. Check,
so
that's
what's
done.
okay? So what's
when they're in base, he will be the other outside corner.
So what's the realistic scenario where he's not outside in
he's not
nickel?
Inside.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he's not inside in nickel. Probably injury to Kelee Ringo or a safety. I mean, I think he's going to play the slot. I think he's more likely to play on the outside than he is at safety. And the scenario in which he would play on the outside would be if those options on the outside aren't good, and if the Eagles feel like there's a capable slot cornerback on the roster. I don't think Vic Fangio wants to move him though, and I think that's going to be Vic Fangio's decision.
All right. Well, I will tell you that I think the case there would be someone who I'm going to take a little bit ahead of where I had him, but just to keep the conversation flowing. That's Mac McWilliams. So I think the case for Cooper DeJean on the outside would be if Mac McWilliams comes in and lights the world on fire.
Interesting.
And they think, you know what, we're better off with him inside and Cooper DeJean on the outside than we are with Kelee Ringo on the outside. I think that's pretty unlikely. But we saw Mac McWilliams get some reps inside as the spring went on, which was not where he was used in college. But the expectation is that will be his best spot. And we get a better chance to evaluate guys on the outside than guys in the middle of the field in this setting. So I'm curious to see if Mac McWilliams is someone who has a chance to flash early.
You're right about that. And I don't know if I'm as bullish on Mac McWilliams' chances as you are, but or I mean, not as you are.
I wasn't predicting that.
As some other people are. I was driving back from the gym this morning. Flex, not really, but and I had talk radio on, and I heard our friend Elliot Shore Parks bring up Mac McWilliams as like a real intriguing player, and I hadn't been thinking about him. So when you brought him up, yeah, I suppose that if they want to have Mac McWilliams on the field, that's one way they could do it. And I think Cooper DeJean can absolutely play on the outside.
Okay, who you got next? Your number 7.
I'm going Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, I don't know if he's on your list, but
he's lower on the list, but he's in my top 20.
I think, we didn't have summer to see Jahan Dotson last year. The Eagles traded for him right before that Minnesota game. He has a full offseason with the team now. I think number 3 receiver is a fascinating role here. If you're an opposing defensive coordinator, what are you trying to do? You're trying to funnel the ball to Jahan Dotson, right? You want to make it like, all right, throw the ball to Jahan. And I think it's going to be incumbent upon Jahan Dotson to play better than he did last season. And he did come on later last year. He made the play in the Super Bowl. He showed some in the playoffs. Week 18, I was impressed with how he looked there against essentially a starting Giants defense, right? But I don't think Jahan Dotson played well enough last year to warrant the trade that they made for him. And I think there's talent there. You've shown through data that he's literally been one of the most unproductive wide receivers in the NFL in recent years. And if Jahan Dotson is going to sign for a reasonable amount of money somewhere next year, he needs to show something this year. And I think there's opportunity to do that as the Eagles' number 3 wide receiver.
And this is one where I will contradict myself and say that I think this is an interesting Jalen Hurts aspect of training camp, because the Eagles have had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for the last 3 years.
Yes.
And you can make the same case that you're making, that defenses want to force you to throw to that third option, and Jalen Hurts just hasn't done it.
Sure.
He didn't throw to Quez Watkins. He didn't throw to Jahan Dotson last year. He just doesn't throw to those guys. And so if for some reason he all of a sudden wants to throw the ball to Jahan Dotson a lot this summer, that would be exciting. I thought that was really one of the biggest encouraging things about that play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is that it was just a read and go. He didn't have to hold his nose and throw the ball to Jahan Dotson. He was seeking it out. And so if they're willing to throw the ball to that guy just a little bit more, I do think it changes the shape of the offense. And yet, why not just throw the ball to A.J. Brown? Even if he's covered, you throw him the ball and you'll be fine. But yes, I would probably take the under on what most people's expectations are for Jahan Dotson this year, just based on how unproductive he has been. But if he pops, that would be great. Okay. I will give you one that we don't need to talk about a ton, and that is just Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, he was so good last year. You go back, I'm on the record. I thought he had the best summer of any Eagle last year, based on the expectations coming in. Last year, it's funny to think about now. He spent so much time as the nickel corner.
Sure, you're right.
Showing how physical that he was willing to be. He was way ahead of schedule then. So we know that this is a guy who was capable of dominating the summer. I don't know that I need to see too much from him, but if this is like, I think back to my early training camps at Lehigh when, Asante Samuel was just so fun to watch. A guy who was just blanketing people, that's great. And so, yeah, Quinyon Mitchell will be fun to watch this summer.
And the cool thing too is you get to see him against 2 elite wide receivers when it's ones on one. So the competitive zeal is apparent in those situations.
All right, over to you.
How many more do I have left?
3 more.
Okay, so I'm not going to go down the list yet. I'm going to stay with the chalk here, and that is staying on the O's. Moro Ojomo.
Okay.
Moro Ojomo is going to step into the Milton Williams role this year, right? And so. Look, there's only so much you can, really see from the defensive tackles during team drills, but you want to see him be a disruptive player. For as much playing time as he had last year, and he played well last year, he didn't get his first sack until the postseason, right? So he has the opportunity now to, like I said, fill that Milton Williams role. I think there's a lot expected of him. Where he is on his development curve, it's like the development's meeting the opportunity. I think he knows he's poised for a bigger role. This is an outstanding scouting and development story for the Eagles, but it's not a given that Moro Ojomo plays comparable or has comparable production and effectiveness to Milton Williams last year. And if he doesn't, then that defensive line's taken down a bit, right? Because, Milton was a key piece to what they did. And by virtue of playing on that defensive front, when Jalen Carter's out there, you're going to see one-on-ones. And how does he take advantage of that? He has like the length and the athleticism to take advantage of it. And so I'm real curious to watch him.
And he is a player, for all the reasons that you're talking about, is someone who the building thinks very highly of. And they're sort of like, not so quietly confident that there's not going to be that much of a drop-off between Milton Williams and Ojomo. As somebody points out, he is still very young. He's only going to be 24 in August. So this is a guy who, if he does hit, you would hope that he'll be here for a while. But then you also got to talk about who's going to replace Ojomo down the line. Maybe we'll get to that with a later pick.
And he is younger than that person.
That's true. Before we get to that person, I'm going to go Jeremiah Trott Jr.
Yes, he's on my list.
Who is going to be the presumptive starting linebacker opposite Zach Bond until Jihaad Campbell is ready. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., kind of like a mildly disappointing rookie season.
You think so?
Mildly.
Because
the fact that he wasn't on special teams, I think, matters. And Vic Fangio has talked about like that matters for linebackers. So I think that was a bit of a ding. And he never really pushed for playing time. Now it turned out that Zach Bond was the best linebacker in football, and Nakobe Dean had an awesome year as well. So it's not that he didn't win the job. It's just that you would have hoped to see a few more flashes. And so opposite Zach Bond, presumably he's going to be in the middle, and Zach Bond will be that overhang player. Whereas with Jihaad Campbell, it might be vice versa. So we don't get to see him tackle a ton, but we can see if he's in the right place, stuff like that. Let's see how he does with the ones.
Yeah, and it's not just this year, but it's beyond too. Because when you think about it, Nakobe Dean, his status is in question. I imagine he'll be put on PUP in the next 24 hours, and we don't know when he's going to return. Probably sometime middle of the season. We also don't know if he's going to be back next year. And in that case, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is in terms of body type, in terms of like scouting profile, similarities to Nakobe Dean, as Fran has told us. So curious to see if Jeremiah Trotter Jr. takes that next step this year.
All right, you got two more. Who are you going with as your penultimate pick?
Two more here. So I will go with Azeez Ojulari.
Okay.
Because I still think Azeez Ojulari can become a key player for this team. Maybe this is, some confirmation bias on my part in that I liked him coming out. Azeez Ojulari, by the way, changed his number. He's wearing number 13 for the Eagles. And so I have a lot of questions about the edge rushers for the Eagles. Jalyx Hunt and Nolan Smith might be good enough that, there's not that drop off or that missing piece from Josh Sweat last year. Brandon Graham's not back. Bryce Huff didn't really have a role last year, but he's not back. But Azeez Ojulari is someone who I thought was going to be a $10, $12 million player in free agency. The Eagles get him for $4.5 million. And so there's a chance that in terms of change of scenery, I think the role is there for him to be a top 3 edge rusher for the Eagles. And in that case, he can make himself some money. He can have a valuable role on this team. He's still awfully young, too.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good one. I will give you my next one, and I'll take another quarterback. That's the rookie, Kyle McCord. The McQuarterback? Is that a thing? Have they done that?
They haven't, but
they haven't done that this entire time?
Nah. I followed him at Syracuse. That wasn't the case.
The McQuarterback.
The McQuarterback.
It's right there.
There you go. Okay.
Come on. Print the T-shirts. Let's go.
I think you know someone who prints T-shirts. You send that along.
Yeah, I don't know how much merch we're going to move with that, but he's a local guy.
A local guy, exactly. Yeah. You can get South Jersey.
It's a picture of who was your guy, the tight end from Syracuse,
Arondé Gadsden.
Dadson Jr. It's a picture of Arondé Gadsden Jr. crying, and then it says, "That's my McQuarterback."
That's my McQuarterback. Yeah. Okay. Who do you think it could be Harrison Bryant, or
you love Harrison Bryant,
or Nick Muse, or Johnny Wilson. I'm trying to think who he would throw balls to. Probably not Johnny Wilson. He's maybe like a Danny Gray. You need a third.
Yeah. Maybe a Taylor Morin. I think it's more likely to be. I think you're probably right with the tight end. So yeah, I think maybe Kylan Granson or EJ Jenkins is your McCord one. But yeah. I thought he looked pretty good in the spring. Better than I was expecting him to look. He's still got that kind of a weird hitch at the top of his motion. But I said in the spring, I believe that the competition for the number 3 quarterback is already over, based on what I've seen so far. So I'm going to see if he moves the needle with the 3s. I think that's a fun one.
That's a good one.
Okay. Your last pick. Who you got, Zach?
So I'm going down my board here because it's just someone who I'm curious to watch this summer. That's Ben Van Sumeren.
Okay.
You rolled your eyes there.
I did.
Okay. I want to see how Ben Van Sumeren is used. I'm viewing him primarily as a fullback now, not really as a linebacker. Sure. I want to see if the Eagles incorporate the fullback into training camp sessions. We'll see him on special teams. If you look at my pre-training camp 53, our colleagues' pre-training camp 53s, Ben Van Sumeren's typically on that list. And I don't know if it's merited or not, It might not be, but he is someone who was valuable on special teams in the past. We know the athleticism's there, although he's coming off injury. We will tell you more about this in overtime. Was I supposed to let you introduce that? I'm sorry.
You can do whatever you want. It's your show too, for now. I think this has been on my radar a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why everybody's penciling in Ben Van Sumeren to be on the 53.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, mine's in a very like dim pencil, right? It's like it's a pencil that barely works. To have him on the 53.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't on the roster last year. He was a game day call up from the practice squad when he played. What are we talking about? 3 snaps a game max that they're going to be eating a fullback. They can't just call him up from the practice squad for those games.
And Kahari Blossom game was a practice squad guy for the Super Bowl who got elevated, right? Yeah. So that's how the Eagles have used that. He's
also
role.
Coming off an injury, like a serious injury.
So those reasons are why I'm curious to watch him because.
I think it's fair.
If you're like, if Ben Van Sumeren doesn't show anything this summer, I don't know how you can put him on the 53.
Right.
But I don't know in what capacity we'll see him. Like if they're not using fullback in training camp sessions, then my guess is, like you said, this is, and I was of the opinion when Jeffrey Lurie said that on WIP that it was just kind of like, he was currying favor or like being cheeky with John Ritchie.
Right. Audience.
As opposed to like, really like divulging this big master plan of them bringing the fullback back. But because of the versatility, because in essence, they can keep 4 linebackers and he can chip in or pitch in there. He's been a key special teams player for the Eagles in the past. I can see Ben Van Sumeren being a part of the team.
Not impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. All right. My last one, I'd like to go with a down the roster offensive lineman, but I don't want to call somebody out yet. I want that person to sort of emerge on their own. I'm surprised that you didn't have Avery Williams.
He's on my list too. Yeah, right.
Just because
there, he's right under Ben Van Sumeren.
Okay, who was the next man up for you?
Yes.
But I'll stick to my board, and I'll go Ty Robinson here, who we talked about.
Yes.
The player who was going to have to backfill for Ojomo, moving up for Milton Williams, the 4th round pick. The Eagles like him a lot. We sort of poked holes at he's an older player.
Yeah.
But I think they like that for him specifically. They think he's a very mature player and he's ready to step in. I talked about on the show with Anthony this morning about his build is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a square up top. He's got really broad shoulders.
Is that a compliment?
It's just a matter of fact.
No, I'm curious. Like, would you like to be,
I would probably not like to look like a Minecraft character. No,
but you're broad. It's. Have you ever been described as a square?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Although I did play, I played Jughead in the Nifty 50s, our I believe 8th grade play, and he was a real square.
Okay.
So, what are you Googling?
I just want to make sure that calling someone the square is not some type of like derogatory term that I'm not familiar with, that I'm going to get in trouble with, that I'm going to get in trouble for after the show.
Canceled again.
Did you watch Colbert last night?
No. Was it good?
It's awesome. Yeah. Okay. I watched Colbert and then I watched Jon Stewart.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it, but I haven't watched yet.
But his opening had me cracking up in bed last night when I was just like, he's like, cancel culture's gone too far. Thought it was a great opening line. So yeah. It was
one of the guaranteed funniest things that people can do is just retell someone else's bit.
Why? So you mean I didn't deliver it that well? I was sorry. I'm a huge Colbert fan. Back when I was at the Inquirer, they used to tell us like get away for the 4 weeks during training, between minicamp and training.
Very difficult for you,
like
right?
No, but there's at that time, there's no show to do. It's just like go away, right? We don't want to see you till.
Yeah, I know that would still have been very difficult for you to achieve.
but so I got tickets to Colbert's show up in New York. I went with my mom, and it was a really nice day. And yeah, I remember a lot from that day. But it was the day that I signed up for the Starbucks app. I remember that. Yeah, because because you got a free coffee. You got a free coffee if you signed up for the Starbucks app. And so I was tired, and I was looking for a little pep before the show because you have to wait in line to get in for like 2-3 hours. And so I went across the street right for like the Ed Sullivan Theater, and I go, and I'm not a coffee drinker, okay? And this was like before I really started to like even try coffee. And I gotta say, I couldn't believe the price of this thing.
What did you get?
What
did you get?
I got a caramel macchiato at the time, right? Which I later learned is just like a milkshake. Yeah. And I was like, and they were like, if you and they said, you have the app. I said, no. They said, if you sign up for the app, you get a free drink. And so I signed up for the app.
Nobody's ever done anything faster than
signed up for the app, and ever since then I did that. But anyways, yeah, love Colbert, love this.
And has that remained an important app in your life?
Anytime I go to Starbucks, I order on the app. Yeah. You get the stars during the winter. They have the game that you get to play. Like for Starbucks for life. So I'm not a huge coffee drinker still, but my kids like the cake pops, and so I'll get them the cake pops a lot when I drive them to school, things like that. So anyways, big fan of the Colbert Show. Big fan of I've read a lot of these stories in the past 36, 48 hours on like the death of late night shows, and it pains me.
Do you agree with the general capitulation towards the presidency?
I agree with I mean I think that comedy, that Stephen Colbert should have the right to say whatever he wants on there, and to like speak his, that's part of what's great about the show is that he gets to speak his mind. And so I think it's awesome. Big fan of Colbert, big fan of Jon Stewart, and so they both had me cracking up last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which Eagle do you think is going to be most angry that they did not get drafted in these 20 picks?
Who do you think? Which Eagle do you think watches our show?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. So then, of that, I mean, AJ. Maybe.
Probably AJ.
Yeah, probably AJ. It's like, well, you don't want to talk about.
I mean, listen, he's going to be the best player on the field. I already know that.
For some good AJ stuff, make sure you check out our YouTube feed. Chris Frez, our outstanding social media director, was at his camp, which is brought to you by Do That Dental Group, I believe.
Yeah.
And enjoyed watching those clips. I went to that camp last year. I was not able to go this year because I was out of town, but I was pumped to see that PHLY was there.
There we go. All right. The scene has been set. Tomorrow, 2:00, we will tell you everything you need to know about the first training camp practice of the summer. And we're going to hear from Mina Kimes for the first time on the show tomorrow. So a monster Wednesday coming up. The Eagles also practice on Thursday. We'll have you covered for that. They're off on Friday. They practice again on Saturday. Stay tuned to all the PHLY channels to get all your updates on all that stuff. Thank you to Zach for knocking it out of the park today. Thank you to Julia for making it happen. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2:00. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.